guys, it's Emily and I am back with another speed build. This one is my entry for the Creature Creation Sparked Challenge. I think I was definitely influenced by the Snowy Escape Pack that is due out in a couple weeks. And so, I definitely had kind of the snowy world on the brain. And so my creature that I came up with that we don't have in the game is fairies. And so I went with a Winterfae is what I'm calling this, Winterfae Castle. I know we've had fairies in the game, past versions of the game, and I never played with them that often, but I know a lot of people love the fairies and love to see them come back in a life state. And so, I kind of had that in my imagination that we would have these snow-dwelling fairies and they would live up in these little, kind of like Tinkerbell lives in the little home, and they can, be really tiny. And so that was kind of where I got the inspiration for this build. I am definitely looking forward to the Snowy Escape Pack to see how that comes out. I know so many people think that this is going to be a really good pack, and one of the best packs, it seems, that the franchise has come out with, at least as far as Sims 4. So definitely looking forward to that in a couple weeks. Here I am using a lot of items from Realm of Magic in this build, and I'm using those rocks that are pretty unique, that create this kind of platform that you can build things on. I'm using the technique of just raising and lowering the platforms, or the level, and so that is the first level there. Actually, we have utilized all 4 levels of the basement to create that water down there to just give it some height. I knew I wanted to use those rocks dangling down and have that be kind of a feature, and so in order to see them and not have them like floating way up high, I wanted to use this technique of just breaking away the whole ground and just having that be like a river or something like that. So as you'll see here, I initially tried to create like a stalactite, stalagmite situation where we have some going up and some going down. So I tried those Star Wars rocks, and I didn't like the way the textures mixed. I kind of wanted to keep the same feel of the rock outcropping, and so that's why we ended up switching that out. But hopefully I use those terms right. I haven't looked at, what a stalactite and a stalagmite maybe since, for years in school. So, but hopefully you know what I mean if I'm using them incorrectly. So. Again, just trying to get these rocks set in a way that looks kind of natural, and so we are just, raising them up from the level below. This build does not use tool or any mods, so that was tricky. If you've watched any of my videos, I sing all the praises of the tool mod. I use it all the time because it doesn't require anybody who is putting this from the gallery. It doesn't require them to have any mods installed, so builders use it a lot because of that. So it was a really challenge for me to, again, not use the tool mod, though, I built for the longest time without using any mods at all, and I finally jumped on the bandwagon about a year or so, a little bit over a year ago. And now I can't go back. But with these Spark Challenge builds, I have just had to, and I kind of enjoy that challenge. I do have another challenge for myself coming up where I am going to build a starter home with just debug items to kind of decorate. So it's a debug starter, and if you look at my channel, I don't do any sort of like starter home type things, so that is new for me. I'm just trying to give myself some challenges and kind of step out of my comfort zone, and so this build did that, in that I am not using the tool mod, but still was really able to kind of utilize the fantasy builds that I like to do and have the creativity. So in order to access these different areas, we do use the Realm of Magic portals. So that is a requirement in order for you to use this build in your game and have it be functional. I suppose you could probably put in a ladder, maybe kind of alter the river below in a way where the Sims could kind of walk out to a ladder or something like that, but it would change the look dramatically. Again, with those rocks pointing down, that's a Realm of Magic thing too. So I don't think this build would work if you don't have Realm of Magic. I don't know how many packs I used otherwise. Again, with the Spark Challenge, you can use any packs that you want. You can use any cheats that come in the game, such as move objects or the debug cheats, but you can't use external kind of mods that aren't built within the framework of the game. And so, you know, I was able to use those debug rocks, just that is within the rules completely. And there have been so many awesome creations for the Spark challenges. I really enjoyed doing them. Again, just with the challenge of not using the tool mod, of not using some of the other mods. So this build is a little bit different because of that. I was able to record it basically straight through, with the exception of maybe some decorating at the end where I tried 100 different things, and so we ended up cutting that out a little bit. But so this video is a little bit longer than my normal ones. Just because of that, because I was able to kind of record all the way through. It's also kind of a unique chance for everyone to see how I try things out. Normally when I'm trying different things, I cut a lot of that out just to try and condense the time. And I know there are some people out there who really like to see the different variations that we try. And so in this build, you get to see that a little bit more than I would typically do with my editing. And so we have this roof technique. I use this quite a bit, pretty much in every build. I think it really adds a lot of like architectural detail when you are able to place roofs at different heights. Again, if you alter anything like a wallpaper or add a fence or a wall, those roofs will disappear. So that's why you see I have them slid over to the side, and then at the very last thing we do is slide them back so that they don't disappear on you. So again, if you have this build in your game, that is something to note, that if you change any wallpaper or if you alter any of the walls, those roofs will disappear. So make sure you slide them away first, and then you can slide them back. We ended up using the Realm of Magic, I don't even know what that's called. It's like a lighting, debug lighting source. And so I wanted to stick with the colors of very, like the feel of icy. So we have some silvers, we have some whites, we have some grays, a little bit of blue and a little bit of purple. And so those were the colors that I was really sticking with. I knew I wanted this to be in the ice, in the cold. I really think I was just completely heavily influenced with the Snowy Escape pack, and that's okay. So just to have a winter fairy, like a castle for that. Again, like taking the influence of Tinkerbell, having this little teeny home, like fairies again can kind of shrink down and have these homes. And so we have these kind of different areas like perched up on the rocks they can fly into. Obviously for the functionality of the Sims world, I had to put in either a ladder or a staircase into the floor below in order for it to be accessible to non-quote-unquote fairies. I could have put the magic portal down below, and then they didn't have to be stairs or a ladder, but I liked the look of the stairs in the rocks as well, and so I did it that way because it kind of reminded me of like Lord of the Rings, where they have the staircase that goes up, up, up into the rocks, and so that was kind of my thinking on that. And then we used the portal to access the other two areas. So that was kind of the choice I made and why I made it. And having those three large portals down below, there just wasn't really any good way for me to place them in a way that I liked. And definitely placing those portals was tricky in the end. I'll talk about that a little bit more, but it took some work. The portals have a gap where the Sims enter, so it's like 2 tiles away from the actual portal. So originally I had like a portal room in the main biggest building, and I found out through playtesting it that they couldn't actually access it. It wasn't enough room, and so you'll see here at the end that I changed that up a bit. But here you're seeing some of my trial and error of trying to get different shapes and trying to get different feels. And again, this is something that I would normally cut out so you wouldn't have to see all my back and forth, but You know, I thought at least for this build, you know, with the footage just being able to run straight through, just because I wasn't using cheats and having that pop-up menu all the time, you know, I thought I would actually just include it, even though it gets to be a little bit longer, so you can see more of kind of what I go through on a normal basis when I'm doing a build. Again, just trying to add things that feel kind of cool, like we have those metals. I ended up using that light to kind of mimic icicles. I thought that was the look it gave to me, and all of those do light up, so at the end you will see a night shot, so you can see exactly how that looks in the nighttime. I did a mermaid build where I used these lights as well, and you can set them to different colors, and so they're for fantasy builds, and for like a certain look, I really think they're a good light to use as kind of an object or a decorative object. That's my personal take, but you know, I've used them a couple of times and I've been really pleased with the way they have come out. I can't say I've ever used them as specifically like a room light, but they definitely look like an architectural feature to me, and so that's why I think I'm inspired to use them in this way. Again, just trying to keep everything looking like icicles or looking like ice cubes. You'll see I have kind of stashed away on that deck over there, that big block that's kind of transparent, clear, see-through. That is one of the elements. I can't remember which one, but I just have enlarged it significantly, and in the back of my mind I know I'm going to build something with that, kind of like to create an igloo type feel. I obviously wasn't going to put an igloo in this, but I knew I wanted to utilize those with that kind of as an inspiration. So we do end up doing that in the shower. And then there's another like block that just is kind of a square that glows, and you can set the different colors. I think that's from Spa Day. I do end up using that as well. Here is a Realm of Magic portal that I think it says it's broken or something like that, but I liked this one because it didn't have the lights. Normally the portals have different colored lights up at the top there to kind of designate that they're portals basically, but these ones didn't have any of those lights, and so I wanted to use this one as kind of an architectural piece of this building over here. We originally do end up placing those kind of purplish rocks up above, but I do end up taking those out. I was just trying to, again, incorporate those color, like little pops of color, and once we have the kind of that filmy, like the portal basically below pop out, then when I looked at it, we didn't actually need that color because it already brought that in. So here you'll see me trying some roofing, different roofing shapes. I wanted to have something just really whimsical, and you know, so here's a great example of, I would normally cut this out because in the end it doesn't end up being part of it at all. We just completely remove that. There's no like whimsical thing on the top of this particular building. But you know, I wanted to show you guys how sometimes I try a lot of different things and it doesn't end up staying. So a lot of building is, for me anyway, is trial and error. I don't know how people who don't do that, how they do it. Like that's just mind-blowing to me. I have to try a lot of different things and look at it from a lot of different directions, and so that is also a part that has been challenging for me as an editor, going back, because I will do something and then I will rotate the camera in several different directions, just to look at it to make sure I like it. But then when I'm editing, it's like, well, I need to edit out all of that panning around. So that has been a trick, and I've been trying to get better about keeping my camera still, but I still just am not doing a great job at that. So it's a work in progress. Here I'm using the Star Wars wall hangings. It was the perfect color, kind of having that metal off, kind of rusty metal actually. I used a lot of the Star Wars items in this. I'm one of those people, if you haven't watched any of my videos where I comment on it, I like the Star Wars pack. As a builder, I'm going to pretty much like any pack. I enjoy using debug so much that any pack that has some good amount of debug I can use, any pack that has new items I can use as a builder. So I will give that caveat that as a builder, I love the Star Wars pack. The rocks are really unique, the debug's rocks that come with it. I did a build of a split level mansion a couple weeks ago that I used the Star Wars rocks, and they were perfect, and no other rock that we have in the game would have made that build. It looked awesome, and I just feel like it gave it so much character. And so if you don't have the Star Wars options, or if I didn't have the Star Wars options, I wouldn't have been able to pull that off in the same way. So, from a builder's perspective, I love that pack and can utilize so many different things from that pack. As a gameplay perspective, I'm honest that I did play it. I played all 3 factions just to give it a fair try, see if each one was different, kind of how it compared. And for me personally, I probably will never be doing the gameplay again, but I'm very glad I have the pack as a builder. So, I know there are others out there who actually do enjoy the gameplay. So, if you're on the fence, definitely watch some reviews. If you're solid, like know that you're not gonna like it, well, that's fine too. Each his own. So here we are adding again, trying to go with that icicle feel. This is a lamp. Icicle, yeah, whimsical. Again, it's supposed to be a creature creation, and so I felt like we could absolutely, anybody who did a creation for it could just have so much creativity, and that, we didn't have to really follow any rules. And so, other than the actual rules, and so I ended up using a lot of Star Wars items, like in a different way. That's the training, lightsaber training droid, I guess, that flies around, and then your sim kind of swings around at it to train with the lightsaber. And I ended up using it as on top of the roof there, as you see. I do end up switching that out. I did find a snowball after that didn't have any of that red on it, and so we ended up switching that out at the end. But that was the shape I wanted, and I knew I wanted it, and so it works fine, but I just was lucky enough to find something that worked a little bit better. As I'm building these rooms, I don't really have a plan for any of them, like what is going where. And so, as you'll see here, I'm placing the portals. Again, I have done a build where you shrink them down and they are still functional. So when I play tested it, I couldn't figure out why on earth they were not able to go in between them. But like I said, the Sims actually need like 2 tiles out from the portal itself in order for it to function. So I did have to rework that a little bit in the end. Here is that ice block I was telling you. It's a table, and I wanted to have that tree you see, that it's like an ice sculpture. I wanted that to have the centerpiece in this part of the build here. I just loved it, and again, it reminded me of Tinkerbell, like how there's this big tree that's in the center, and the fairies are really small. Unfortunately, I did have to change that because by being blown up so big like that, it gets in the way of the routing, and so they can't use the seat, they can't walk around in there, and so I ended up putting that ice block table in the center of those chairs, and then we put the ice tree on top of that, and that way they're able to route just fine. It's still large, but it's not on the ground blocking their way. So, I always try and play test my builds. I want them to be functional for everyone, and there are some instances where I will let something go if there's like another option. Like sometimes I'll put a fridge in a counter, like the Discover University fridge, like a mini fridge, and then have it set into the counter, and that's not functional, but it doesn't bother me so much if there's another fridge that they can still access. So if you were to click on that and they, and you told them to get something to eat, then they would go to the other fridge to get something to eat, but the functionality in theory is still there. So sometimes, from my creative perspective, I will do that. That's just I guess the way I choose to do things. And if you didn't like it in your game, you could just remove the counter and just have the fridge there. It's not really a big deal. Or you could just remove the fridge and just have the primary fridge. So, it's all up to you and how you want to alter the builds. Before I started building, I really would download things off the gallery and then just kind of alter them to suit my needs. I don't do that as much anymore. I guess I have been working on a build, a save file that includes a lot of items from the gallery, and I do changed that quite a bit actually, so I'm just making myself a liar right there. But normally, when I normally play and not working on that save file, I like to play in people's builds kind of just the way they have it. So again, I'm just kind of stashing items as I go through. There are some of those colors that I know I want to use. And that gold I can't remember exactly how you say it, but Totem Kalama. I put that in all of my builds. I don't know if you know that. I think in my very first speed build, I explain why I do that. And I will explain it again. Today is the anniversary. I'm recording this on the anniversary of my first so a year ago, I posted my very first speed build on YouTube. And so today is a very special day for me. And I include that is because the description of that particular one paired with a rare gem is it gives Sims a case of narcolepsy. I personally have narcolepsy in real life. And so that is kind of my signature, like hidden little thing that I do that that I include. I don't think I've ever seen anybody do something like that, and so you can always look for one of those in all of my builds. It's kind of a weird thing. Sometimes I have to work it in and it doesn't really fit in, like this one. It's like, why would you find a golden llama in this particular build? That just doesn't make any sense. But now that you know, that's kind of my signature move. That's what I put in all my builds, plus the rare gem. So if you have Jungle Adventure and you enter into this lot, your sim will get a whim, if you have them turned on, to assemble it. And if they use it on themselves, then they will get a narcolepsy. So I do have a little bit of an issue with the way that narcolepsy is portrayed in the game. It's one of those instances where the real life equivalent of how most people think of it is not entirely accurate. So that's unfortunate, but I still make that kind of call out. It is a big part of my life and it doesn't rule my life, but it's something that I have going on, and I definitely identify as a narcoleptic and have to adapt my life to accommodate it, and it's just not something you can just go with and just pretend it doesn't exist. So that is the reason why, another explanation of why I put that particular pairing in all of my builds. It's kind of like it's just like a fun thing for me to do, and I really like that. So here I'm using those cubes, again, to kind of create an ice deck. So we don't have a fence here, but we use this to create the edge of the deck. Unfortunately, the Sims actually can walk through this. I use this as well into the shower, like to create a custom shower surround. And when I play tested, this Sims do walk right through it, so that looks kind of silly sometimes. But I was okay with that because, again, it was an aesthetic thing. I really like the look of it, and it doesn't interfere with any gameplay. So I'm glad about that, because sometimes it's unfortunate when you try and do something creative like this and then it interferes with gameplay, because that's largely a deal breaker for me. I want it to be able to function for people who use this build. Here I was trying to delete the extra deck that I had built to be able to place those, and I was having a little bit of trouble when I was cutting things away, that it would delete those cubes that I had placed, and lo and behold, all I had to do was drag it in. I somehow reason thought that it would like drag them in with it, but it worked perfectly, so I don't know why I didn't try that first. So here we end up having the bedroom is in the center, and then the room with the tree here is actually kind of like a den, or like the activity area. And then the main building, I end up having a kind of a sitting area, like a living room, and then the kitchen, and then we have a full bath, or well, a bath with a shower. And then there's another little room that we have just a bath. So it's not two bathrooms, it has just a bath. So if your Sims wanted to take like a bath, kind of a luxurious bath on their own, they could use that particular room. But then if they wanted to just take a quick shower, they would use this particular room. Here is where you'll see I'm making that custom shower surround. Again, just trying to keep in with the icy vibe, the cold vibe. knowing that I'm going to place this lot in snow for the pictures. I do have the mod that shuts off the weather when you are building, just so I can see things, because a lot of times the colors and textures get covered up if you have snow on the ground. And so I do have that mod, but that is in no way an issue with the Spark Challenge rules, because it doesn't really apply to the lot itself, so it's just while I'm building. And again, I really love this. It kind of reminded me of like those glass blocks that people sometimes use when they're building. And I wanted to have just something a little bit interesting. Just, this bathroom would be kind of nothing special if we didn't come up with something like that. So I'm really pleased with the way that turned out. And again, it doesn't actually function as a barricade. They walk right through it, but it's a really cool look, and I really am proud that I came up with that, and I enjoy that. So again, we can't use the red shelf. I also use the red shelf really often, and this is kind of the old school way of doing it. We can put things on the shelf like that and then drag it up and down the wall just like the red shelf. The red shelf, the difference being why don't, if you're wondering why we use the red shelf, is just doing it as opposed to just doing it that way, is because the red shelf can slot a lot of more items, like a lot of larger items. So the shelves that we have in game can only really slot small items. So the red shelf mod actually gives you a lot more freedom of what you can kind of place freely. So I was glad that we were still able to use that trick in order to, comply with the rules for the Spark Challenge. Here we're working on the kitchen. I was originally thinking I didn't want to have it look too modern, but then I kind of just said, to heck with it. We already have a bunch of like kind of modern textures going on, kind of with the Star Wars items. So I did end up using that modern stove. That is one thing I'm really looking forward to in Snowy Escape, is that we have a stove that doesn't have the back. So it's nice and flush. You're going to be able to use it in kitchen islands if you want to, and it's not going to stick up. So it's about time we got an oven with that styling. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that. That pack I'm so excited about. I haven't been this excited. I guess it's been a while. Like I was really excited about eco lifestyle. I know it's kind of a mixed bag when it comes to that, but I am into the eco lifestyle in real life, really, environmentally conscious. And so for me, having the solar panels and the water collection and things like that was so perfect. It made me really happy. I was really excited. I do like that pack. Dumpsters are amazing, I think, for the rags to riches. Changing, it was a game changer to have those dumpsters. So that's awesome for a lot of people. Here I was just trying to figure out how we are going to furnish. Even though I told you what the rooms end up being, I literally didn't have a plan going into this. I was just kind of making it up. Here's a great example. This looks a little rough. Like, I would love to take the tool mod and just rotate those just a little bit so they're sticking out of the rock in a little more natural way, whereas now they kind of all have flat bottoms and are like creating these odd shelves. But, I thought it's okay. I'm just trying to take some artistic license and kind of do things in a way that I wouldn't normally do. Here we're just using some wall decals to kind of create a pattern, but again, I'm not trying to create a wallpaper or anything, just try to add a little bit of texture that fits in with the theme. Again, I'm just stashing items that I know I want to use. Oh, here, this bar was perfect when I found that. As I was going through the gallery, I was like, okay, I know I want to use that. So we do this bar, or this room ends up being, it does have the bar, and then we do put in some seating areas, and a coffee table. So it's, like I said, just kind of a sitting area with the bar. Originally I did put that painting easel in there. I thought it would be a great place to hang out, but we did end up moving that over into the den area. So here I wanted to kind of mimic the shape of that bar, and it looks rough at first. It's like, what kind of odd shape is this? So I did use the trick of placing down a rug, and then I was able to get that more perfect shape to line up a little bit better. And it looks so much better and so much more complete that way. So yeah, that ends up just being kind of a hangout area. It maybe is a little redundant since we do have seating in the den area. That is actually the tub room. I tried initially to put a washer and dryer, but then it just wasn't. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to worry about laundry in this fantasy build. That just seemed kind of silly in the end. And so I did end up creating like I said, a bathroom that has just the bathtub and nothing else, just some plants. It's just gonna go and kind of give yourself maybe like the spa treatment and go take a mud bath or something like that. Really luxurious. So here you'll see is where I made my first video cut. I tried so many different decorations and we ended up settling on these lights. Here you'll see where I was talking about I needed to alter the build a little bit in order to get the portals to function. So again, I had them initially in the room, but they need 2 tiles out for the Sims to spawn, so we're just creating that extension. So I can put them out and then the Sims have enough room to spawn. So that's the reason I did that. I ended up putting them in the back just for so it didn't change the look of it. So here is that bathroom. This is our last room of the build, and I really enjoyed making this for the Spark Challenge. Definitely check it out if you're enjoying it. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys.